Okay, let's talk about the fine tuning that I did with the Atomic MRX in 3500 motor, 3500 class, Lexan body. This is a Reflex Racing stock front bumper. I'm not sure what it's called, but it came with the RX28 kit. The body post, I'm using the PN Racing body post. The reason why I'm using the Reflex Racing bumper is so that I can just put my RX28 body on it. It's direct fit. The measurement here is the same as the RX28, maybe just slightly off by maybe 0.2. So for the front, like I mentioned in the recent video, the front shocks, I have RX28. I'm not using the MRX stock front shocks. I did order the BZ5 aluminum shocks. Right now, I am temporarily borrowing this RX28 shocks for this car. For the shock, the shaft, this part I had to cut the spring holder. I had to cut that part. It's not circle anymore. I had to cut it or else it's going to hit the bulkhead here. So I had to cut that. But it didn't do anything to the spring. The spring is still being held by the remaining spring holder. Okay? It's not gonna fall out. This is also BZ5 front springs. And I am also using 1mm shim in the front, not a 0.5. The reason for that is so that I can have the shock position more upright. I just like the feel of the car with the car having more roll. Okay? And I'm getting it from the front shocks being more upright, as well as the rear damper being more upright. Okay, but first let's talk about the front end. As I mentioned in the other video, that I put Loctite for these 4 M2x8 screws, and I didn't torque it all the way down. The reason for that is so that you don't bind this pivot ball. Here, let me remove this and show you how loose this front end is without the shock on there. See that? You want it like that loose. Okay? And I'm gonna rock the knuckle back and forth to show you that this upper arm is not that loose. It's not moving around. Okay? That's how you want it. When you over torque this and you lift this up and you lower it down, it doesn't go down all the way. It goes slowly. That means it's too tight. So loosen that up. Also using countersunk screw down here just to make sure that the part of the shock body is not hitting the button head screw. So I'm using the countersunk screw just for peace of mind that the body of the shock is not going to rub on the screw head. For the knuckles, I am using the aluminum one because the plastic broke right away. And this is just for reliability. I have the ball stud mounted at the very end. And the axle, I'm running the version 2 with 1mm of shim. No, not 0.1mm of shim here. Here in between the knuckle and the axle. For the camber, I have the camber at, right now, at 2 degrees. Caster is stock, the caster plate. This is stock, the one that came with the conversion kit. The toe out is exactly 3 degrees toe out. Okay. The ride height in the front is 2mm. The ride height in the back is also 2mm. The speed control is the GL Racing. I'll have it in the description below. It's this one. I removed the case for whatever reason. Maybe it didn't fit or maybe it broke something. But I'm not using the case. Blinky mode. For 25, 35, and modified, I don't put boost or anything like that. Servo is Reflex Racing. The receiver, I have this on all of my cars because it's been reliable. I've had them for 2 years. I bought them at Mini RC Planet receiver for Noble NB4. I also have the antenna, and I wrapped it with heat tubing. For the center shock, I have the MZR lightweight aluminum shaft, the gold one, that I had to trim so that I can fit this lower spring holder. If I don't do that, it won't fit. So I had to remove some material. I have it in the video, just look it up. I have it in there or in the community page. And also I had to cut down the threaded part shorter. I cut it shorter. This way I can run the upper shock with no droop, zero droop. If I don't cut that threaded part shorter, I would say about 0.5 millimeter or 0.3 of a millimeter. If I don't cut it, then I'll have 0.5 millimeter of droop. Okay, I don't use the blue spring or the tiny spring. For the rear spring, I have the MRX red, and they're preloaded a little bit. I made my own little tool so that I can feel the spring tension. See, I can feel the resistance in there just to check if there's, see, this one has less resistance than this. So this one is more preloaded, and I know that too. I can eyeball it, and this one is lower than that side. But by feel, you can even see it. See how it's folding? There's more resistance on this side than this. Okay? For the side damper, I extended the shaft out a little bit. I didn't thread it all the way in, so I can get at least 1 millimeter or so of the shaft inside the tube, so that I can have more dampening. I can apply more grease on the shaft and have a better dampening as opposed to losing 1 millimeter or so of that shaft inside the tube. Okay. For the side shim, I am using 1.5. I'm using one piece of that 0.5 shim, not two. I'm going to remove it to show and what I did. Right there, it's one, and it's not one shim, 0.5, and a countersunk screw that's not going to fall out because I glued it. I can also remove it. I just turn it. Okay, it's gonna break off. The reason why I glued it is just for convenience. Look, I don't need to use another tool to hold these pieces together. I can just screw this on. Okay. I did remove the titanium shaft and put the steel Kyosho shaft to add a little bit of weight in the back. That's why I have steel shaft there. And also the steel shaft is more reliable. I can hit the wall and not worry about it bending. Well, this shaft is like 17 years old and it's still straight. The titanium, they do bend, but personally, I haven't bent a Kyosho titanium shaft. I have bent a lot of titanium shaft that's non-Kyosho, especially the aluminum ones. Like first battery pack, bent. That's why I only use Kyosho shaft. As for the cable routing this way, just so I don't put too much weight, pressure on one side of the wheel. That's why I have that there. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. Okay, thanks.